Hi, welcome to audit preparation training. This is part two of evidence preparation. So, in part one, we showed you the different options for getting those evidence records into the platform. Today, we're actually going to work in the evidence record and show you how you can set up the collection of documents, both for this for your actual upcoming audit, and how you can set automation in the platform so that the system will send out notifications for all of your future audits year over year. Okay, so let's get into the training. Okay, so here we are back in our compliance management module in the evidence section, and hopefully this list of evidence has been bulk imported into your platform, in which case we've already established all of the different criteria for automation, which includes the evidence start date and end date, the period that we're going to be collecting the evidence in, the launch date of the notification. This date shows when the actual email or notification will go out to the evidence owner to provide the documentation. And the automation comes from what we call the request frequency. So I'm just going to add that here. So based upon the frequency that you establish for this request, what our system is going to do is going to send out a refreshed notification with the audit period refreshed as well, for each for the evidence owner to provide new evidence based on that frequency. So that might be quarterly, could be for an annual audit, basically, or weekly, whatever it is that you actually require this, the period, the amount of times that you require this evidence to be collected for your audits. So we're going to show you actually how to set that up manually in today's training. So what we're going to do is we're just going to add a new evidence item here. So you can come to the action menu at the top and just click add new, and that gives us a clean evidence record. And we're just going to take something from our IRL and plug it into the system. So what we're going to look for, we're going to do the org chart today. So I'm just going to, and so what we'll do is we'll copy that description into here. And now we're going to build out the evidence record. So first we're going to name it. So probably all we need to call this is org chart. So that's pretty self-explanatory. And then let's just go back to the description for a second. One thing we want to note here is the description is what the evidence owner is going to see. And this is how they're going to know what document you're actually looking for. So if you have the precise name of the document, that's obviously going to help the evidence owner. But a couple of things that you might want to bear in mind. The document needs to have been created within the evidence period, the audit period. So you might need to just explain that and just confirm that. So I'm going to add that information here right now. So this is just a canned sentence that I often use just to notify and indicate to the evidence owner that they need to look at the evidence start dates and end dates, and they'll be able to see that in their document request notification, and make sure that they're giving you the correct document, the latest version of the document for your audit. The other thing that you might want to do is a great little part of the C1 platform is evidence owners are actually able to see previous evidence that they've uploaded, so they can make sure that it matches. So we can also add just a quick note in the description if you want, just to remind them that they can do that. So again, here's a little canned phrase that I often use. Please note you can review prior documentation in the attributes section, previous DR. And again, they're going to see that when they come into the document request. Okay, so once we've done that, what we want to do then is we want to actually then correctly set up our evidence record so it's within the evidence period that we're being audited for. So again, this is the period that the evidence needs to come from. So this is the period that the auditor is looking at, not the actual audit itself. So that start date might be, we're June 17th today, so maybe we're going back a year to maybe it's July 1, 2025 to June 1, 2026. And so now we've got that audit period that could take place over a year. And for that, if that's for like a SOC 2 or an ISO 27001. And then the next thing we want to do is to set the launch date for this evidence record. So when do we want this to actually go out to the evidence owner? So let's say our audit is going to start in August. We probably want to have everything collected by say the middle of July at the very latest. So what we want to do is maybe set a launch date for today. And then, of course, we give no more than 30 days for the evidence owner to provide this. And we typically recommend that you give them a little bit less so they don't forget about this. They will get reminders every week to upload the evidence until they upload it. But so what we could do is say here is maybe provide them with 14 days. That's 14 calendar days, not 14 business days, just so you know. And now we've got the evidence period correctly set up. We've got the launch date, so we know when our notification is going out. And that document request will launch on midnight UTC of the day that you select here in this screen here. So we can leave this as manual because we're going to send this to an evidence owner. Automated would be if we were doing some kind of integration and putting the document directly from a system, but we're not doing that in this case. And then all we want to do is just assign this to the person who's going to provide the evidence. Note you can add multiple people here, so we can actually send this to a few people, and as long as one of them uploads it, if they're an additional contact, they will be able to upload this as well. And once it's been uploaded, that will complete the cycle. And then last thing we want to do is you probably want to assign yourself as an approver. This way you will see the evidence when it comes in and you'll be able to check that it's right. And if it's not right, you can actually reject it, send it back to the evidence owner and ask for additional information. And that will be part 3 of our training today. Okay. Okay, so once you've done this, all you need to do is click save. And now your evidence record is ready, and we can come back to the evidence list view here, and you can see that we've now added that and everything's set up and ready to go, and this is going to launch. Now note that all of these evidence end date, launch date, start date, etc., these can actually be populated in bulk. You can just select all of them, or you can select individual ones, however you want to do it. And then when you come up to your action menu, let's say you want to just set the evidence start date, end date, and launch date as all the same, then you can just do that here. Change the evidence start date, change the end date, change the launch date, and you can even change the collection due days. So everything that we just did individually there can be done in bulk in this action menu here. Okay, so now you're basically set up, you can start collecting evidence, but what we want to do now is we're going to actually start the building process so that you can actually have a dashboard and track your audit against the regulation that you are being audited against. So we're going to be building internal controls, and we're going to be adding our obligation, the standard or requirement that you're being audited against, and we'll show you that in all of our future trainings. This terminates training for today. Thank you very much, and move on to part 3, where we'll show you the evidence collection, review, and how to reject or ask for additional information. Thank you very much.